All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to be talking about batch lesson planning. So maximizing your time and impact with Beacon. So we hope that you're going to take away some great insights into our latest application, Beacon. And let's just go through some quick housekeeping things today. First off, I am Dr. Allison Ross. I'm the training and implementation specialist for Beacon. And also we have Miss Kajisha Tayusme, our product manager for Beacon, joining us today. So we are recording this webinar, and about 48 hours after the broadcast, you're going to receive the recording of this as well as any slides. For this particular webinar, we will have the recording will be your best friend as we're going to be doing some live demo within the software. You can check out all of our great content and much more at youtube.com/Eduphoria videos. Also, just so we can keep track of the great questions that you have, please use the Q&A window to post questions, comments, and responses. We're able to take those with us and know what happens, whereas the chat doesn't always save afterwards. But you can definitely use the chat for dad jokes and shout outs, as well as if you happen to have any questions bubble up after this, you're more than welcome to email us at training@eduphoria.net. We would love to hear from you. Today, we're going to be talking about batch lesson planning. What is it and why is it beneficial? Then we're going to move into a live demonstration. We're also going to be talking about assessment planning with Beacon. I hope that piques your interest because it sure is cool to see. And Kajisha's also going to walk us through the product portal. So let's talk about Beacon. So I see some folks in here that Beacon may be a brand new idea for you. And so let me talk about the great thing we call Beacon. So Beacon is our curriculum management and lesson planning software solution. So while Beacon's predecessor is Forethought, Beacon is so much different than Forethought. So let me introduce you to some features of Beacon. So we have seamless access to curriculum, including your Bluebonnet materials. So we have, you have the ability to add many different curricular elements into Beacon, and so that your teachers have one spot to be able to access all of them in the Curriculum Explorer. Also, if you're a Bluebonnet district, you, as a Beacon client, you have Bluebonnet available to you, and that can be added to your Beacon site by our team here. And that is one of the ways that we're able to support Bluebonnet integration, as well as during your setup process, we talk about different ways for you to plan with Bluebonnet. So are we going to use HQIM templates and things like that? We also have Bluebonnet assessments available and Aware. So we really are your Bluebonnet solution source whenever you're wanting to implement that curriculum into your district. Also with Beacon, we have our scope and sequence analysis that really gives district leadership and teachers insights into the data story of what happened before the assessment, what happened during, and what happened after the assessment. So really giving you a robust full picture of everything instructionally leading up to the assessment, what that assessment data yielded, and then the next steps afterwards. And then my personal favorite, coaching support. I love a coaching moment, y'all. So coaching support identification before assessment results. So you're able to really get that data story and then lean into your teachers. Um, when I was a coach, I'll tell you, you spend a lot of time trying to decide where you need to focus your attention first. Beacon is really truly designed to be able to give you that starting point to know where you need to focus your attention first, and then where do you need to focus your attention second. So lots of great information comes out of utilization with Beacon. When y'all get these slides, be sure to check out the product page here. That will show you all the great things about Beacon, as well as a short video if you'd like to share that with folks, but that's going to be included in your slides. So let's talk about the curriculum management piece with Beacon. So for admins, you're able to get transparency insights when we're thinking about trends that go along with lesson planning. So here we have a sample lesson, which again, with Beacon, you're able to utilize any template you want for courses, units, lessons, and resources. And so really you can have the framework put in place that gives you the highest yield of information whenever you go to analyze your curriculum and look at how it's being utilized, how it's being put into the classroom. You can collect amount of time standards are being taught. You can see which standards are being taught during what time. So is someone teaching standards ahead of the scope and sequence or behind the scope and sequence? That's one of the examples you have of where do I need to lean in as a coach to support instruction in the classroom? We also have this automatic, beautiful alignment between Beacon and Aware that Kajisha is going to talk to us more about later. And I'm so excited because this is one of our great features we have in Beacon and Aware being better together. And then when we talk about curriculum integration, you can locally create your curriculum. Like I said, we have Bluebonnet. You can have your forethought migrated into Bluebonnet as well as Google Drive integration as well. Please be sure to check out this curriculum editor link here. This will give you more insights into this curriculum management piece of Beacon. Thinking about lesson planning in Beacon, your teachers are going to love the drag and drop ease of utilizing Beacon to plan. You can also share your planners. So you get real-time collaboration with your team, working together and utilizing the planner to annotate your lessons, to delineate how you're doing or how you're internalizing your HQIM. You also have this ability to look at other people's lessons and resources from other subject areas. So cross-curricular planning could not be easier. So lesson planning in Beacon is so simple whenever you have your curriculum put in and it's and your teachers are in the Curriculum Explorer using it to do their lesson planning. Also, when it comes to Beacon, you can access your pre-built curriculum. For this example, we have Bluebonnet. So if you've got pre-built curriculum in there and you need a place that you want to be able, teachers to be able to use it, and then you're able to run analytics to see its utilization, Beacon is your solution for that. So you can simply drag and drop your resources in, and you can also align your lessons and resources by unit. Like I said earlier, you can also look at lessons and resources for other standards. So you've probably heard me say, I used to teach Texas history, and that is not STAR tested. So I would support 7th grade ELA as a teacher. I'm able to go look up the standards and lessons and resources for 7th grade ELA without going to bug my sweet ELA team teacher, in order to be able to support what's happening in the classroom and support our standardized testing in my social studies class through utilizing lessons and content from 7th grade ELA. You also can focus on your lesson planning strategies with Beacon. So I love our instructional strategies. We do have the ability to include the lead forward strategies for y'all whenever you onboard with Beacon, but you can also access different strategies and make new categories. You can see what your utilization is of these strategies within your classrooms. You can also turn your strategies on and off. Let's say that you want to just focus on a certain area. You can turn those on and off and really focus where your teachers are putting their attention with Beacon. So you have so many options there when it comes to really monitoring what's happening in your classrooms as far as instructional strategies, pedagogical approaches, and much more. And with your lesson planning in Beacon, you're also able to include templates and strategies. Like I said earlier, you can add a template for a course, unit, lesson, resource, and your teacher planner. Your teacher planner can have a different template each day. I know that's a very big departure from how forethought was utilized. So definitely, if you're looking for a customized experience with lesson planning, maybe your district has a lot of different processes they would like supported that are custom and support your direct population. Beacon has a solution for that with how you build your templates. And then we talked a little bit about this earlier, but just want to give y'all a glimpse of what the monitoring through the utilization of scope and sequence. So you can see here that I'm able to see which of my preps in this particular content area are have lessons or teaching lessons in the classroom on that day within the scope and sequence. I can see that 4 of them are doing something else, so I need to actually go investigate what my other groups are doing. So you can provide coaching support even before the assessment is administered, because I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, wait a second, what are my 4 other preps doing in Algebra 1? Because we've got an assessment coming up and we're not teaching any of our standards that we need to be teaching at this time. You can also view these results. You can drill them down by district, campus, and teacher. And you can see ratio, you can see how the ratio demonstrates coverage versus unit expectation. Also, you can click on the units to gain even more insights. Is also identify which teachers you need to speak with first and see what they, what is needed to get them back on track as far as their standards and alignment with scope and sequence. All right, so now that we have given you a lovely overview, we've got some questions for y'all today. So I'm going to send out a quick poll for y'all to answer and see what your insights are. So as we're doing that poll, we're going to go ahead and have Kajisha take over and start talking. And we're going to go through, we're going to have some questions, and then we're going to have a little lab demonstration, and we're going to have some more questions. But we love a time of interacting, collaborative learning with y'all. So, Kajisha, take it away while I grab some more answers. So, yes, thank y'all so much for these responses. So, what is this most stressful part about planning to you? We've got finding resources, internalizing materials, writing lessons before I deliver them, creating projects or assignments, getting everything in before major assessments. So right now we're seeing about a 50-50 between finding resources and getting everything in before major assessments. Okay. All right, Kajisha.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Allison, for starting us off on a really high note, and also reading off those responses. And the best part is that Beacon is perfectly positioned to help with both of those things. That can be very stressful when it comes to planning. I just wanted to share some of the responses from our October newsletter when we also sent out a question similar to this. One of the number one, like the leading stressor, or how does curriculum planning contribute to your stress levels? One of the leading answers for this was that planning is actually second nature at this point to a lot of teachers, to a lot of the newsletter readers. And so they're not that stressed out, which is great. I love when teachers are not stressed out. But another high number, 128, is that it's not perfect, but I'm pretty comfortable with planning. And then our other high number, 108, is I'm very stressed about planning each day. So for the ones that are very stressed about planning each day, I hope that batch lesson planning, what I'm about to show you, can help alleviate some of that stress. And for some that planning is second nature, I hope that Beacon provides you an even better experience that makes planning even quicker and even more effective for you. So I'm going to hop into Beacon. If this is your first time seeing Beacon, this is the planner page. So this is where teachers are going to set up their preps. Preps are basically the classes that they teach. They'll link those preps to district courses, and then they will have basically the instructional days laid out for them, along with whatever the curriculum manager set up in the district courses. So this is a link to the district course. The teacher can click on that, and then really quickly they'll see all the beautiful things that you have organized for them as a curriculum manager. They've got their units here. They've got all of the standards that are part of each unit. Within each unit, there are breakdowns for lessons and resources. The teacher can use either the side pane, which is linking all of the same things with the relationships, or they can do it from within the hub. They can click on the unit and they'll see a list of all of the lessons that are a part of that unit. And this is just a really quick way for them to see what is everything that my district is giving me so that I maybe don't have to go search for all these things from all these different websites. Let me start with what the district is providing. So like we said, you can bring in curriculum from different sources. We have Bluebonnet that we can help get into your system for you. You can use our Google Drive integration, or you can import things with PDFs or Microsoft Docs, whatever it is that you use, or you can create things natively in Beacon as well. We do have our own text editors, and I will show you those text editors a little later when I'm in the other portion of our demo today. So we are going to plan a lesson as a teacher. The portion about batch lesson planning is going to be demoed throughout. So I'm going to kind of show you how you batch lesson plan. Really, the concept is just lesson planning ahead of when you're actually going to teach. as in not planning just the day of teaching or the day right before, but you're planning a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month out. And that just helps really alleviate a lot of stress because you're not coming in every day trying to figure out what is it that you're going to teach. You're just starting with something. And then obviously we're going to have to pivot if things don't really work for the kids. But that is much easier to do than not only having to create your plans, but then also having to differentiate in real time when things have to be more flexible. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to work in second grade reading. This is connected to the Bluebonnet Learning Grade 2 RLA course, and we are currently in Unit 4. So this bar across the top is the unit. It's going to be titled whatever it is that you called it as a curriculum manager in your district course. So this is Unit 4, The War of 1812. As a teacher, I can actually just click on the title right there, and it pulls up the unit level document. So for Bluebonnet, we've organized this so that the teacher guide is at the unit level. As a teacher, I'm going to go ahead and start to internalize. So I am going to read through, let's see, we've got different lessons a part of this unit. And I'm able to look at, there's a pausing point. I'm able to see how the Bluebonnet lessons are broken apart, read alouds, application, unit review, unit assessment, culminating activities. And then I'm able to just really quickly read the premise of this unit, what we're going to be focusing on, what the objectives are, and what components we have. So we have the flip book, the activity book, image cards, and digital components. And we also have already broken that all apart for you. And we've listed those in resources. So you have your activity book, your digital components, your image cards, your resources, your flip book. You got everything right here for you. So we've already pre-organized this so that it's in just the state for a teacher to pick up and go. I really recommend as a teacher, you read through what the unit is going to introduce to the students, what it's kind of focusing on, and what are some things, maybe some background knowledge that your students need to have. This is really going to help you just understand what you're going into. And then there's vocabulary for different lessons. So you can pull those apart and make that specific to your lesson. So as you're reading through and you're internalizing what the entire unit is going to be about, you can start to plan how you want to kind of show this unit to your students, how you want to teach the entire unit. So we've gotten here to lesson 1. And what I actually recommend at this point is if you're ready to start planning your lesson, you can see here we've got on the side panel our lessons. We've pulled out Unit 1, L1, or Unit 4, L1, which is this lesson right here. You can go ahead and click on it, and it's going to open up that lesson. So now you just have this lesson, the America in 1812 Part 1 lesson opened up for you. So you can go ahead and read through it, and when you're ready to plan, you can click on this little pin right here in the left-hand corner of the side pane, and it actually just pins that lesson onto the side of your screen. So now you're able to have your plans open and you have the reference material open as well. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to my day view. The week can be a little overwhelming just to start with. So maybe I'm going to switch to my day view just so I can kind of focus in on one day. I'm going to start on Tuesday. And when I click on this button right here, this is the Create Plan button. So I'm going to create a plan. I can choose any one of these that I want. We also have favorited templates. So if there is a template that you want teachers to use for their lessons, you can have them actually select it here and it favorites it. So then when I save and I go to click on adding a new template, I have a little star next to the one that I favorited. So I can choose that one, but as a teacher, I'm also able to choose any other template that I want. So I'm going to start with maybe the basic template, just so I can start playing around here. And what we can do now is we can actually copy this plan over to other days. So let's say second grade reading, I am going to teach this on Tuesday and Thursday. So I'm going to copy this template over to my Thursday. And when I click duplicate, it's going to go ahead and copy that over. So now I've got my Tuesday and Thursday set up with that template. So I'm going to teach lesson 1 on Tuesday. I can pull over my standards since we've got standards and objectives here. I'm going to pull over the standards I'm going to get to, and you can pull over as many as you want. Um, you also have the option, if your district is less about like putting the standards on here so that they're visible, and you can just kind of put the lesson as a link. That is an option too. So I have it here where I just like dropped all the standards on, but I could also choose to just pull the lesson, which is over here. We've got U4L1. The lesson, I can actually just drag the lesson on as well. And so if I drag the lesson onto the block, or if I take the standards and I pull them apart, analysis is going to pick up the standards either way. So if your teachers are choosing to just drag and drop the lesson link, you're going to get all the standards that they're teaching. If they decide to pull apart the standards and put them on their plan, you're going to get all the standards that they're teaching. So as an admin, you don't have to worry about the specific way they're planning. Whichever works for them, you're going to still get the analysis that, you so desire. So let's go back into our lesson. We've pulled apart all of our standards, and then let's look at materials. So the materials that I'm going to need for this lesson, we've got here in the resources. So I can pull over the student's activity book, I can pull over the flip book, and I can pull over the image cards as well as the digital components. And then if I wanted to just play around and just kind of see what these things looked like, I can click on any of the links and it will go ahead and open those up for me here. So this is what the flip book looks like. And I can actually print this as well. So if I wanted to print any of these, because these are kind of student facing normally resources, I can print them directly from here, and then I can, distribute them out to my students. So those are gonna be my materials. And then some of the more fun things as a teacher, you can decide what strategies you're actually going to pull in. So if I'm looking through and I've got my vocabulary, I'm doing read alouds, exploring connections, I can decide based on what I'm reading here and what I'm supposed to be delivering to my students, what strategies I want to use. So I can open up the Curriculum Explorer. I can click on the Strategies tab here, and then I can pull in any of the strategies here that I so desire that I think are going to work well for this lesson. So I'll say factor fib showdown, and then maybe we'll do some summaries. So we'll do 3, 2, 1 summary, and we'll do like a high five summary. So those are going to be my instructional strategies. And then I can continue going through this. As I said, we have kind of broken apart all these things for you so that you at least have the starting point as a teacher, and you can pull, drag and drop, and however you plan, you can make it work. And then assessments and homework. As a teacher, you can decide that you want to do maybe an exit ticket for this. And maybe your exit ticket is for them to tell you a cause of the war. And then homework, you can choose to do whatever homework you want. But this is where you might link to a Google Classroom a Google Classroom assignment or something like that, that you maybe have already set up. And so you can go and link that here as well. Links do work here, like outside external links work here as well. Now, if I knew that I was going to do basically this exact same thing again, maybe on Wednesday, I can actually duplicate even with everything listed there, and it copies that entire plan onto the next day with everything linked. So it fully copies it over. And you can either start with a skeleton and then copy those over, or you can build it fully out and then copy it over. If you do like A/B days and you teach the same thing on 2 days, that can be really helpful because you just have a quick copy button to move everything over. And then we have the side pane that allows you to do it kind of at the same time. You're able to like fully look at your unit and your lesson and all your things and plan out your entire week. And that is where I'm going to end with this portion of the live demo for batch lesson planning. And then I have another one coming, so be very excited.
I'm excited. All right, so we have a next question ready for y'all, coming to you. So, which assessments do you use to make intervention decisions? So, we use assessments to figure out where students need reteaching. We use formative assessments to identify learning needs early on. We analyze students' end of year results from the previous year. We don't assess or analyze at the start of the year. So, which one of those do your practices currently most align with? Okay, we've got a few answers trickling in. Um, so we use assessments to we're seeing a lot more. We use formative assessments to identify learning needs early on. That one has the most votes right now. Um, we're not really seeing anybody that doesn't assess at the beginning of the year. All right, give it about 10 more seconds before I end this poll and share the results. Okay, here are results.
That's great. I mean, it's good that we are all assessing. We're all assessing
Yes,
students.
right, right.
Yeah, these are good answers. So it's good that we don't have anyone who's not doing it. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and show how with Beacon you are able to pull in your assessments to do just that. So let's see. I am logged in as Savannah. I do believe, yes, perfect. Okay. So what I just did there was, and I'll go ahead and close it just so I could talk through it. One thing as well that is really important when you are lesson planning enough time out is you're going to have assessments. And so you want to make sure that one, you're leaving room in your plans for assessments, whether those assessments take the entire class period or they're just a portion of the class. You do want to make sure that you're accounting for them in your plans, but you also want to make sure that you are instructing for what that assessment is going to be. Make sure that students are having some kind of exposure to the content that they're going to be tested on before the test. So one thing that's really amazing with Beacon that I do not believe, and I'm willing to eat my words here. I do not believe any other lesson planning or curriculum management product does this. We have a integration with Aware, which is our other, powerhouse product that does assessments and student performance analysis. We have an integration where you are able to grab assessments from Aware and bring them into your plans. So I'm going to just start with a clean week so we can see what that looks like. You would click on the Curriculum Explorer. The final tab down here is assessments. And if you have your preps connected to the rostered sections, you will see assessments linked here. So if I just do like 5th grade ELA, for example, that has a roster section connected to it. It has 3 actually. We've got reading, language arts, and another reading section. So because those sections are linked here, the assessments that are also linked to those sections appear in the assessments tab in the Curriculum Explorer. Now, there are a few different things that need to be true for you to be able to see assessments here. And we do have an online help guide that kind of runs through what those are, but the test does have to have questions on it, which is, yeah, you should probably have questions on your test if you're assessing your students. So that shouldn't be a hard requirement to meet. 2, the test should be live, active, which is the setting in the test authoring. You flip it from, I believe it's pending to active. It has to be on for online test proctoring. Online test proctoring has to be enabled. And then you have to have roster sections connected to your Beacon prep. And also those roster sections have to be the ones that are connected to administration for that test. So a mouthful, a lot to remember, but as long as all of those pieces are on and accurate, then you will see assessments show up in your Curriculum Explorer. So as a teacher, you're going to see the assessments that you're able to proctor. And when you do see those assessments live there, as long as you know what day you're planning on giving that test, normally it's like a Friday. you can drag and drop that test onto your block here, and then you'll see the assessment. It's hyperlinked blue. If I click on that, I will see that I go directly to online test proctoring in Aware. So this is a quick access link to just go into Aware and get your test started. You do want to make sure, like, and this is for like an admin note, you do want to make sure that you look at the date of administration in Aware. That's going to be your source of truth. A teacher could say that they were going to give the test on Friday, but then something happens and they end up giving it the following Monday. Beacon is not going to be the place where you know, see the source of truth of administration. It's always going to be Aware. So you want to make sure that you go look in there if you want to see when that test was actually administered. But it does give you that quick access to here, and then I can just go ahead and make that available for all my students. So like I said, the criteria right here, these two tests are the ones that showed up, and that's because these are active, they have questions, and online test proctoring is enabled right here. And the sections that are linked to this are the same sections that are linked to my Beacon Prep. So that's very important. One thing that's really cool is you can actually see which standards are assessed here. So these are all the standards based on the questions. So if you created a test and you added standards to each assessment item, these are the standards that would appear here. So this gives the teacher a good idea of what is going to be tested. So then I, as a teacher, would work backwards. Now that I know that this assessment is going to cover 5.3b, 5.3c, and 5.12a, I'm going to create plans and teach lessons that cover those standards. And so I can do, let's do like a bell ringer or something. Actually, instead of making these plans like this, I will go grab a template because that will save me time. So I will do the minimal template, which I think is only 3 things, which is nice. And then I will go ahead and delete this and add that minimal template again. And I have some lessons that I can go find, and you can find them in multiple ways. So another quick way to find lessons is if you go ahead and click on the plus and then you click on lessons, you'll also find lessons through here. And so I know that this lesson has some of the standards that I need. When I click on it, I will be able to really quickly see what this lesson was, and then the standards that are listed here. And these are the same standards for the assessment that's coming up, 5.3b, 5.3c, and 5.12a. And just to double check, these are the same standards. So this lesson is a good lesson to teach. Now, one thing that I said that I would show you guys as well from my previous place was that I would show you guys what it looks like to write directly into the editor, because you can also create lessons directly from here. So let's look at this one. And like I said, Beacon has its own editor. And so I'm clicking in right here into the text editor portion. And this lesson is one that I actually went ahead and created myself. And one thing that's really cool, and this is what we have as a leg up over Google, for example, is you obviously have your, most people anyways, have their lessons in Google Docs, they use Google Classroom, some also have it in Microsoft Word. But Microsoft Word and Google Docs, neither of them track your standards. Neither of them understand what strategies are. And so you're missing out on a whole lot of insights and data that you could be gathering if you were able to track and tag standards and see how they're being utilized in the classroom, and then what kind of, what kind of success we have out of these things that we're building for students. If you're able to see that teachers taught this lesson and then they took this corresponding assessment and the students did well on this assessment, you can probably surmise that it's based off of the instruction and the strategies that the teachers used. And so That's something that you can't get out of Google or out of Microsoft Word. And teachers can either create their lessons directly in here, or they can use Google Drive to create lessons as well. And I can really quickly show what that would look like. If, as a teacher, I wanted to create directly in the editor, I can do that just by clicking on New and Create Lesson. If I had some things from Google Drive that I wanted to go ahead and bring in, I could click on Import from Drive. And with the Google Drive integration, what's really great is that it actually brings in all of the Google types of things. So we've got Google Docs, we have Google Slides, and we have Google Sheets, as well as Google Forms. And all those things can be brought into Beacon and used directly in Beacon. Now that I have given Eduphoria access to my Google, I should be able to show you my screen again. We're going to go ahead and click on New, Import from Drive, and now we have access to my Google Drive. And so through this, I have all of the different lessons and things that I've pulled. So I can do, let's multi-select. We're going to pick out this Google form and this sheet, or Google Doc, just so you can see. We're going to import this as one lesson. And then once this imports, you'll be able to see how these things are kind of shown in Beacon. So this is that Science Unit 1 middle school quiz. This is a Google form, and you can interact with it directly from Beacon. And then the other one is it was a lesson. And also, whenever you bring things in from Google, it does have Google in the title. So that's another cool way to just like figure out where your stuff is. And this is a slide. So we've got Google Slides that also show up in here, and you can directly teach from these slides to your students, or you can click on Google Slides and then it opens Google Slides up on its own. And then here is a Google Doc. And then this is another Google Doc with the lesson. So wherever your things are coming from as a teacher or as an admin, you are empowered to bring those things in and just import them, and then they'll appear in your plans. And I'm going to give this a second. I'm going to refresh so I can see those plans I created and that assessment that I dropped on there. And that's how you bring in assessments into Beacon and how you plan backwards from an assessment.
Love that. And thanks for like also showing us those best practices when it comes to like backwards planning. Like we all know that that is like one of the more foundational pieces. And like sometimes we just get so like into all the different things that are coming out and rolling out. We're like, oh yeah, let's begin with the end in mind. Let's do backward design. Okay, final question for y'all today. I'm gonna go ahead and launch that. If you had the option to use pre-created curricula, I would. So what are you thinking if you had the option to use pre-created? Would you use the materials as written? Would you use the materials in addition to resources that you're already utilizing? Would you continue to use your own lesson plans and resources, or use whichever materials are best suited to the day and the student, regardless of where they originated? Right. We're tracking 50-50 between use your usual materials and use whichever are best suited. So I'm going to give y'all 10 more seconds to get your responses in. And thank y'all so much for this information. It really does help us drive our planning and next steps. All right. Let me share these results with y'all. So it looks like we're 50-50, using the materials in addition to resources I use and use whichever feels the best.
Mm.
So, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
a nice 50-50 split. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah. I think this is also a big part of why we built Beacon the way that we did, because you obviously want to use, as much as you're being provided for by the district. But we all know that when it comes to our students and our classroom and what feels good and how we want to authentically teach, we're also going to use whichever materials are best suited to the day and to the students. And so being able to bring in your own stuff as a teacher and use your own templates, and you're not locked into one template, you're more flexible, but you can also utilize Bluebonnet and whatever things the district has brought in for you and organized. It gives you that like full flexibility so that you're not worried about where am I finding my materials. It's more like all my materials are in one place. So now let me just plan out the best way and the way that I think, and then just plan in a way that allows me to deliver my instruction to my students in the best way possible. So love that. I also love that like no one said use the materials as written and provided. Very good. Because no matter, no matter how I think well-intentioned a lot of the kind of instructional materials are, when you're in front of those students, things are different, and nothing is going to work 100% as it's planned and as it's scripted. So as a teacher, being ready to be flexible and adaptable in those situations, that's another part of your job. And so love that no one said that, because yeah, we're realistic here. Okay. Now I'm going to show you guys something that's really fun that we're doing with Beacon, that we haven't done with any of the other products before, is we're actually opening up the product so that users are more empowered to give us feedback that's going to ultimately help shape the way Beacon is built and the features that we release and the enhancements that we make. And we're doing that through the product board portal. So this is the product board portal. I know some of you have seen it. If you're in office hours with me and Allison, I've shared this link a few times and I've kind of directed people to it. The best part about the product portal for me is the transparency and the ability for you guys to give me feedback and vote on the features that you absolutely want to see in Beacon and the ones that are the most important and critical to you and your district. So we've got 3 tabs here. We have in discovery. In discovery means research. So we do not have any development plans towards this yet. This is product discovery. So we're trying to gather all of the insights and voices and feedback and everything around this thing so we can start to figure out like how do we then solve the problem. And so right now we've got importing and organizing common cartridge. We have OneDrive integration. These are in the curriculum management areas. Moving forward, and this is kind of looking in the horizon for next year, we want to give you guys more importing options. So right now you can import all your PDFs, you can integrate with Google Drive, and if you're using Bluebonnet, we can help you with that. But if you are a OneDrive district, you can use links in the editor to access OneDrive content. So you do still have a way to use Beacon with OneDrive content, but it's not as seamless as, for example, the Google Drive integration that I demoed a little earlier. And so we'd want to make sure that, regardless of where you're coming from, you have that seamless experience. And so we're doing some research looking into that. So if you are a OneDrive district, this is a card that I would love for you to click on, and then you can see a little bit more about what we're looking for, kind of what the overview is of this OneDrive integration, what's some functionality that we're hoping we can do. And then you also have time. This is the office hours times. So if you're coming to office hours already, you can just say, hey, I want to talk about the OneDrive thing. But you can also find a time slot if you aren't coming to office hours to talk about this. And at the bottom here, this is one of the most important parts, you're able to tell me how important this feature is to you. So you can say this is not important, which means that if it's not here, it doesn't matter to you. It's a nice to have, it would be cool, convenient, or useful. It's important, that means this would solve a major need for your district, or it's critical, which means that without this feature, you would consider switching to another product. These votes means so much to me and the engineering team, because then we're able to prioritize based on what you guys need and how important a feature is to you. So that's what we have here right now is common cartridge and OneDrive. And then we have some in progress. So as you can see, I actually have already released the move and duplicate plans. So I'm gonna have to move this over to released. But when we have stuff in progress, that means the team is currently working on it. This is where I give you the sneak peek. I give you like a little video that shows you what the feature is, some description about the feature, and you're still able to vote on it at this point. And then we have released. So this is when it is out, it is in your system, you're going to be able to play around with it. And so if you, for whatever reason, maybe you didn't, maybe you were keeping track of a feature, but then you didn't know when it was going to come out, you can always come to the product board portal and look at the release and see if that feature you were looking for has been released. And then you can go in your system and see it there. Or you can look and see, oh, it's still in progress. They're still working on it. Let me throw in some feedback really quickly before they get it out. Because if you do throw feedback in the in progress, we will get that in time. We get it like instantaneously. And so I can make decisions based on that feedback too. So that's the product portal. You can also submit an idea. So that's the other, I was gonna forget one of the funnest things. You guys can also submit your own ideas. So you're not just stuck on the ideas that I have presented here. You can submit a completely new thing. If you look on here and you don't see your like pet project, passion thing that you want us to work on, then you can submit a new idea. Just say what you'd like to be able to do in Beacon and then explain also how that solution would help you. It's really good to give a lot of context so we understand like the user story, the user journey, what it is that you're trying to solve with the feature that you're asking for, and then how important that feature is to you. And you can put your email address here, and that just links it to your profile so that I'm able to email you if I want more information. I can alert you if we're going to work on it. I can get more feedback from you, and then you'll obviously just have it as a you'll get constant updates if we are working on the feature. So that's the product board portal. And you can submit any idea you want in there, and yeah, vote on feedback, things like that. Oh, I see a question. Let's see. Colette, I will go ahead and answer this live. Our teachers continue to ask for a print feature. We have tried to get them to find another way. We also need lots of ways to sort and move multiple planners around, especially for administrators. Thank you, Colette, for that. I will actually go ahead and I'm going to submit. We do have print as a thing that we have noted. So I'm going to submit yours as like an additional vote towards it. And then we actually have something coming really soon around multiple planners for administrators. We do have some features that are not moving the preps around, but it's actually a summary view of the preps, and then also access to all of the preps for administrators without having to share each individual prep with them. So we're going to release like a summary view thing that is hopefully going to solve what that problem is for you. And then I will get them on the printing because that's something that we have noted, but we have not started working on that. So thank you, Colette. But I'm going to put that in for you so you don't have to worry about putting it in too. And yeah, I'll just update you when we are moving forward on either of those, but I'll give you what we have for the summary stuff soon because we do have some work on that already in progress. Okay, do you have any other questions around the product portal or features that you're anticipating or you want, or even anything that we've talked about today?